So as a younger lad I went to boarding school in the UK. Mine was quite something, kind of like Hogwarts just without the magic. Now for the STID. Boarding school is basically like prison but less stabby. Back then, late 90s, we were just coming to the end of older kids are in charge and we were beginning the era of whiny little dickheads mouthing off. Anyway, by this point I was a 6th former, 17-18-year-olds, and my younger brother was in the same house. Boarding house equals prison wing, and a 4th former, 13-14-yo. At boarding school there's a pecking order, and if you're a 4th former you're on the crap end of the stick at the beginning of Crap Creek with a paddle that's made of crap. A 6th former tells you to jump, you don't even ask how high, you go for a world record. That being said, I wasn't one of those 6th formers. I'd been through the crap as a younger kid. I'd have the ever-living crap beaten out of me a few times. I'd run dozens of menial errands, and faced my own fair share of bullying from my own year. I tell people some of the stories and watch their faces go white, but it's the crucible in which I found my confidence, my nicely balanced FU attitude and my absolute hatred of bullies F-bullies. Unfortunately my brother wasn't rolling with the punches, so to speak. His housemates were gargantuan twats, but my brother never just became comfortable being himself. He always tried to be their friends, and as such they kept at him. I tried to help, but he always begged me not to, so it went on for the whole year. Nothing bad, compared to the crap I went through. He was never beaten, electrocuted etc, but it was taking a toll on him. It was grinding him down. He just wanted to be friends and these Psywangstons just kept at him. So it's the second to last day of the year. The last day is usually just a half day, and then the families come and collect us, and my brother is just done. He calls mum and asks to just be picked up a day early. Why endure another 24 hours of inescapable verbal bullying? Well, at some point in the afternoon my mum walks into my room and says that these effing ballsacks have continued bullying him in front of my mother. She's in the dorm helping him get his stuff together, and these guys are throwing barbs across the room. Mum's pissed. Well now I'm too. I stuck to my word to my brother and kept out of it, but now these mothfuckers are crossing lines. Not only that, but one of these kids is not even from our house. He's coming to my house just to F with my brother in front of my mother. So I follow mum to the dorm. Now, the main culprit of the year of bullying is this kid Bully 1. He's exactly the kind of bully you'd expect. He's taller and fat, but that pubescent fat translates to strength at that age. Bully 2 is an almost embarrassing pitch in as much as he's the smaller mouthy type that uses his fat buddy to hide behind. They're both from rich Chinese families from Hong Kong. This comes into play later. So I stride into the dorm and spot Bully 2, the little crap from another house. Before I continue I feel I should point out that I was far from an intimidating specimen on paper. 150 pounds and a bit of fluff on my face. I'm not some mutant with a hairy back. But, like I mentioned, I've faced a fair amount of crap, and I'm not afraid to mix it up. I grab Bully 2 by the scruff of his shirt, pull him out the dorm, push him against the wall, take his skateboard and place it across his neck, and then ever so directly inquire just exactly who he thought he was disrespecting my mother like that. Well, Bully 1 wasn't happy about that. Figuring he was almost the same height as me, and probably tipping the scales in his favor he decided to get in my face. A massive no-no as far as the unwritten rules of the school goes, and then the motherfucker swings at me. I'm standing next to my mother and this entitled bully swings on me. His extra weight meant his hands weren't particularly fast, and I jerked my head to the side and his knuckle kissed my cheekbone. The other 4th formers actually gasped. I'll never forget that. I touch my cheekbone and calmly ask, Bully 1, did you just hit me? Yeah right I did. And what are you going to do about it? I'm glad he asked. At this point I decided to show him just what I was going to do about it. So I grabbed him by his throat and proceeded to roundhouse that little F in the face. It was a glorious sound. Smack. That crisp sound of clapping your hands together. But why stop there? Let's give him a round of applause, shall we? Smack, 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 smack and smack. At this point one of the younger brothers of a fellow 6th former friend of mine jumps between us saying he's had enough. While I still debate that point I acquiesced and left Bully 1 blubbering on the floor and walked off with my family as mum patted me on the back with a well done. Now we aren't stupid. We walked straight to the housemaster's office. He wasn't there. He was umpiring a cricket match against another school. So we hop in the car and drive to the other side of school, Hogwarts. Remember? This place was 100 acres. And once there's a break in the game, I stride out onto the pitch and immediately say, "Sir, I just walloped Bully 1 for a bloody good reason." At this point I can see Bully 1 staggering down to the pitch while being supported by a housemate. He's even put a band-aid on his face. He's really milking it, but suddenly spots me and my mum talking to his only salvation, and he knows he's rumbled. Now, boarding school isn't necessarily about the rules, it's about justice. So many things get dealt with in school and you wouldn't believe the crap that never got back to the parents. They weren't ignorant of the bullying my brother was receiving, but they were going with the whole "let's see if this works itself out" approach. They wanted us to learn to stick up for ourselves, blah, blah, blah. However, a sixth former delivering a multitude of roundhouses to a younger boy's face is not something you can hide from parents paying tens of thousands of pounds a year. So, I was let go, but the issue was not done. Back at school the next term and the parents of both boys want blood. The headmaster was relatively new at the school, and was, to put it mildly, he wasn't about the old ways, and was a dick about many things. He found a casual way to bring it up in conversation to me about how there had to be punishment. I agreed. I don't think he was expecting that. But I continued, "I'm more than willing to accept a week's suspension for what equated to 2 minutes of bullying. If, oh crap, there's an if, you also punish the bullies of my brother. And they were doing it for a year, so I guess you'll have to suspend them for a few years." Cue some very British muttering, and suddenly it seems like this is one of those times where it's getting swept under the rug. Clearly not. There must have been some behind the scenes negotiations with the parents, because a few weeks later I was told that I would need to write a letter of apology to the parents of Bully 1. Oh really? Now, as I mentioned, both of these kids were from Hong Kong but also Chinese. English is not their first language and their parents' understanding of it was significantly less. The thing about us Brits is, we are really good at sounding like we are saying one thing, while at the same time sinking the knife in with a smile on our face. I decided to follow this instinct with gusto. I sat down with one of my friends and a thesaurus, and wrote what I still regard to be one of my finest pieces of work. We deliberately used overcomplicated terms to mask what was in no way whatsoever an apology, but it sounded like one. While it was littered with terms that sounded apologetic, to any native English speaker it was clearly putting 100% of the blame on the crafty little crotch goblin they produced, while at the same time suggesting, if he does it again he'll be getting more of the same. I signed off, and then couldn't resist a postscript. P.S. I do hope Bully 1 didn't suffer any permanent injuries. Which of course is fluent British for, I sincerely hope it effing hurt when I smacked your son in the face repeatedly. I sealed that envelope like you seal away toxic waste. I couldn't run the risk of the school reading it, because I'd be totally rumbled, and placed it on my housemaster's desk. But 2 days later after lunch roll call my housemaster singles me out, and asks I follow him to his office. Crap. Play it cool. I follow along, nonchalant as F. And we go to his office. It's about that letter to Bully 1's parents. At this point I'm thinking, oh well, I gave it a good go. But my housemaster continues. I had it typed up for you. And hands me a pristine typed up version of my apology. I just need you to sign it. I look down. It's word for word. And right there under where I'm supposed to sign is a postscript, just as I wrote it. Just sitting there all by itself. P.S. I do hope Bully 1 didn't suffer any permanent injuries. You effing legend. With a smile on my face I gladly signed the final haymaker and had it sent on its way. Sometimes school isn't about the rules, it's about the justice. Because F bullies. Last week I was working from home one day and got up to use the bathroom and make a cup of coffee. Took 10 minutes, tops. I get back to my computer to a bunch messages from my boss, getting increasingly nasty about something, and why I wasn't answering quick enough for her. I send a message back with whatever it was she needed to know, and apologizing for not getting back to her soon enough. When she finally answered me, about half an hour later, she said if I'm not going to be at my computer for any amount of time, I need to send an email to everyone in my office, including higher level executives, that I'll be unavailable for X amount of time and why. So that's what I've been doing. My normal phrasing for the message is hi, I'll be unavailable from this time to this time as I'm going to use the bathroom, make some coffee etc. Every single person in my office has told me it's fine, and I don't need to tell them when I'm going to be gone for a few minutes, where I then forward them the original exchange between me and my boss and apologize, but say this is what my direct report has told me to do, and this is the result if I don't. They all hate her as much as I do now. So I'm a business consultant, and usually during the week we are at client site and get paid for travel, meals etc. The meal reimbursement policy is quite flexible and doesn't limit what we can claim, like some of the other consulting companies. So we can claim lunch, alcohol, whatever. The policy, however, does lay down a guidance for a daily limit for food expenses based on the country where you're traveling. I capitalize the word guidance, since that is exactly how it is written in the policy. It is a guidance, not a hard limit. For the UK, where my current project is, the limit is 40 per day, which is mostly okay, but can be a bit low if you're in the center of London for example. Now I do intermittent fasting, so most of the days I don't have breakfast and lunch, and just have one big meal a day, and have no problems keeping to the 40, usually around 20. On some days, I might go to a fancy restaurant, have a couple of scotches with a steak, and run up a $60 bill. But during the course of a 5-day week, my average meals would run about 30 a day, if not less. I've never had a problem claiming these expenses in my 9 years with the firm, but recently a new project manager, Reed Bean Counter, came on board, and he sent back a couple of my expense reports for having meal expenses in excess of the 40 for a couple of days, even though the average meal expense over the week was much less than 40. I tried to reason with him, told him that anyway it was a guidance and not a hard limit, and I was keeping the costs down on other days. He refused to budge and said I could only claim 40 a day for food. So guess what? I started doing exactly that. Every day, I made sure I was claiming 40 or thereabouts for food. I started buying meals for the homeless people around the train station to make sure I could make up the 40. So now, where I was claiming less than 150 a week for meals, I now claim 200 and get some good karma for it. Very mild domestic situation. Hope it fits. If not, apologies. It was time to paint a few rooms in the house. For well over a year my girlfriend would not or could not pick a color. She was to go out of town for the weekend to see her mother. I generally do larger messier projects around the house when this happens. I was tired of these rooms and prodded her again for a color. I wanted her to pick from the dozens of samples collected over the last year or so. She told me to go ahead and pick whatever color I wanted. She did not care. Now I have been with her long enough to know this is not true. I will end up repainting again, and I hate to paint, so I devised a plan to make this work to my advantage. If I have to paint again I may as well prepare for it, so I did. I went to the local big box home improvement store and bought 15 gallons of white paint. I then proceeded to paint every room in my 1,000 square feet house white. Ceilings, walls, and trim included. I thought it was beautiful. She on the other hand did not. She walked in and was not pleased in the least. It just went on and on and on. Stark whiteness throughout the whole house. New colors picked and applied within weeks. I gave her a blank slate to work with, and it helped her to visualize, I guess. Or the hospital glow in every room got on her nerves. Semicolon closed bracket. I'm a grown-ass man, and I can tell when I'm sick. I know my body a little better than a doctor does in terms of recovery, and if it is something I'm not sure of I will see a doctor. But my place of work has this silly rule that if you are going to be out 3 days you have to have a doctor's note. Anyway, I got food poisoning the other day. It was the middle of the night, right before I was going to go in, before it started to hit, and I knew what was coming. It was going to be 36 hours of running to the bathroom followed by 24 hours of being super tired from not having eaten for the last 2 days and not having had any sleep for the last 48 hours. It's a full 3-day recovery for me. The first 36 really are the worst though. So I called in sick on Tuesday and Wednesday and was going to call in sick on Thursday too to get my much needed rest and be 100% for work on Friday. I know this is what was going to happen. But when I called in this morning I was told I have to get a doctor's note to miss this day. It's stupid because what is a doctor going to tell me that I don't already know? But my doctor also hates these types of rules, so she had my back. I went to her this morning and told her what my work said. She asked if maybe I might have had chills during my time being sick. So I said yes. She said she doesn't feel comfortable saying it was just food poisoning and is going to say it could have been a stomach flu. She's writing me a note to be out until Monday now. So now I have 2 days of just rest and relaxation followed by the weekend. Thanks for forcing me to go into the doctor. I have an older boss who leads our ed group. Recently, she has threatened to write me up due to speaking up in conference calls with our vendor or vendors. Speaking up consists of the vendor asking us to provide info, which I know we have readily available, and state I can provide. Another example was clearly defining vendor responsibilities vs our company's responsibilities. After one of these times, she called me and said if one of these examples occur again she will write me up. We discussed how, even though I was taking the correct action or providing the correct information, it is the principle of me doing it which she said is disrespecting her in front of her peers because it is not my place to make those decisions. I responded by acknowledging this fact and how I have failed her as a follower. Since then I have remained ghost quiet on meetings and only speaking when spoken to. This has resulted in the vendor having to repeatedly ask for information across multiple days before my boss comes to me for help, which has delayed projects and pushed out deadlines. No fallout as of yet, but if things continue to run like this crap is gonna hit the fan, to which I will post a part 2 of this story. So I work as a long-term care (LTC) biller. I do pharmacy billing for nursing homes and assisted living facilities. So any meds they get, I bill. My company is contracted with LTC facilities. We provide medications to people in LTC. On to the story. I've been working in LTC for 16 years. The company I work for does something that is absolutely unheard of in pharmacy billing. They care about their patients. So, if your insurance drops a copay of $20, but the at cost price is only $5, we charge you the $5. We give you the lower price. This is really rare in my field. Most pharmacies are out to F everyone. My company actually gives you the better deal. Here comes Karen. Inbound call. Hi, I'd like to talk about my mom's bill. She's at nursing home. Me. Okay, what's your customer number? Pulls up customer number. Karen, you didn't run this through my mom's insurance. Me, let me check this out. Pause. Me, yes, we saw that your copay was actually higher than the at cost rate, so we dropped the charge down, so it's cheaper for you. Karen, I pay for insurance and I expect insurance prices. Me, of course, but when we can charge you the lesser price, we do that. We try to cut off. Karen, I jaff about your prices. I want it ran through the insurance. For taxes purposes. Me, regardless of that, we can send you an itemized tax paper to show what you paid. We just start trying to give you the lower. Karen, I want this ran through the insurance. This is ridiculous, you aren't billing my insurance. Me, we did, but our at cost gives you lower price, so we charged you the lower price. Karen, I am done with this. Bill the insurance. Me, your bill is $75. If I bill your insurance, there are some tier 3 and 4 meds, highest copays, talking $75 plus, they will raise your bill. Karen, it will not, and I expect you to rebill my account to the insurance and mail me a new statement. Me, yes, mom. Call Ems. I rebill the account. Her bill goes from $75 to $396. She gets her new bill a week later. Calls back. Loses her crap, of course. My boss backed me and told her that since it's been over 30 days since the meds were dispensed, we can't reverse the claims. She's stuck with the bill. Bottom line, if someone tells you they are giving you the best deal, take it. Thank you for watching. Slap that like button and comment your opinion on these stories below. I'm waiting. Write that comment. Seriously. Have you written it yet? If you don't comment, you make a bunny cry somewhere. You're not that kind of person. I know. Anyways, peace out and catch you tomorrow.